Hi, guys, good evening, and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host, Eddie, and in tonight's video, I'll be discussing what I thought of the big news that dropped yesterday. Director Dexter Fletcher, who recently brought us the film Rocket Man, which I personally haven't seen, although I plan to because I've heard mostly good things about it, signed on to direct a film for Universal Pictures, a film about Dracula's servant slash slave, Renfield, the guy who's basically a lunatic and he's obsessed with eating spiders, bugs, and rats. And he becomes increasingly more animalistic than he does human, even though he's just a crazy human. He just acts more like a wild animal. And of course, you might remember this character from the original 1931 Dracula film with Bela Lugosi. And then, of course, this character appeared in the 1992 version of Dracula, played by Thomas Waits, I believe. Did a great job in that one. Both actors did great jobs playing a crazy bug-eating psychopath. But this character is getting a film centered and all about him. It comes from a pitch from none other than Robert Kirkman, creator of The Walking Dead. And I believe the script has been written or is going to be written by Rick and Morty writer Ryan Ridley. So that's pretty exciting. Now, what's unclear is if this is going to be a film rooted in horror or more of a horror comedy, because they said that it might have some comedic elements to it, or perhaps it's a horror film with comedic elements or a comedy with horror elements. We're just not quite sure yet. We don't know a whole lot about this movie, except one thing is certain. It is going to take place in modern times, which will be interesting to see, because Dracula, that story has usually been a period piece. Excuse me. And I'm curious to see what kind of story they're going to tell with Renfield, of all people. But I'm excited and intrigued for it, so I think this should be pretty fun. So between this movie, we have the upcoming film coming out in February, The Invisible Man, which looks great. And then, of course, we also have another monster movie in development from filmmaker Paul Feig, who recently gave us the romantic comedy Last Christmas. Haven't seen it yet. I was a little worried at first because I've seen a couple of his movies. Spy is probably my favorite. Bridesmaids and Ghostbusters were okay, but I absolutely loved Spy. But I just don't know what he was going to bring to a Universal monster film until I read an interview that he did recently. I'm a mega fan of those old horror movies. Bride of Frankenstein is probably one of the greatest movies of all time. I love that movie so much, and there are some things from that movie that I'm using in this new movie, Dark Army. But I really want to do a James Whale-ish modern-day version of a monster movie that is about these characters. I want to bring that ooky spooky feel back to the movies, but with these monsters you root for and understand at the same time. I finished the first draft of the script and I'm so excited about it. I'm literally on fire about getting this movie made as soon as I can. I turned it into the Dark Universe people last week and they loved it. Now it's going over to the heads of Universal, so we'll see. So, a few interesting things about this. He mentions the Dark Universe people. I think the Dark Universe is pretty much done, scrapped. No interconnected, shared cinematic movies featuring the monsters crossing over with one another. Kind of disappointing, but understandable at the same time. When he says Dark Universe people, I think he means the people at Universal who are in charge of and handling the Universal Monsters franchise and those properties. I think that's what he most likely meant. But, time will tell. And with a title like Dark Army, it got me worried, oh no, are we going to see a bunch of the Universal monster characters brought together before they all have their own solo films for a big team-up film or something? Because that sounds like a really, really bad idea. However, that may not necessarily be the case. A Dark Army could refer to an army of werewolves, an army of vampires, of ghouls, of zombies, of demons, whatever. But it sounds like Paul Feig understands what makes the Universal monster movies so good in the first place. And it's this part here when he says, monsters you root for and understand at the same time. And that is exactly why people love these movies and love these characters. So it sounds like Paul Feig has a pretty good grasp of what a good Universal monster movie should feel and look like. And after having read this interview he did, I feel a lot more confident and excited in his ability to give us a good Universal monster film. And again, he's done a lot of action comedies. I don't know if he's really done anything horror horror related. I think the closest was a movie he did last year, which was like more of a psychological thriller called A Simple Favor. I heard that was really good, actually. I might want to see it. But this sounds like he's definitely going to have a vibe or a tone that is similar to Bride of Frankenstein, because he talked about a James Whale-ish version. James Whale is the guy who directed Bride of Frankenstein and The Invisible Man, the original films from back in the day. So I feel pretty confident and hopeful about Paul Feig being able to deliver a successful, scary Universal monster movie called Dark Army. Now, something else that is noteworthy, and this is just something that I observed, is that they mentioned that the Renfield movie is going to take place in the modern day, which is funny because so is the new Invisible Man movie. However, they said that they're no longer concerned about making an interconnected universe of crossover films. So this may be nothing, or it could be something, but it's most likely nothing. But I am curious to see what kind of movie we could get with such a creative, interesting, fun to watch character like Renfield, and what kind of story you could tell with him. And like I said, after reading this interview with Paul Feig, I feel a lot more hopeful and confident that he will do his best to give us a good Universal monster movie, because it sounds like he gets these characters, and he's excited to get it made. And I'm hoping they go into production fairly soon. So time will tell. But in the meantime, what we do know is that Dexter Fletcher is going to be directing a new Renfield movie for Universal, and now Paul Feig is developing a Dark Army film. What that'll consist of remains to be seen, but things feel pretty good. Things feel very hopeful on the Universal monster front. So what do you guys think of all of this news? Are you excited about this? Do you really not give a damn? Are you asking yourself, how could they make a movie about Renfield? I want to hear your thoughts, opinions, and your feedback down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your night. The Invisible Man hits theaters February 28th, 2020. The other films have yet to get release dates. But stay tuned and subscribe to this channel to stay on top of news items regarding these two topics I covered and much more like them. Have a great night, guys. And of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.